Well, could Anthony Albanese be in a situation which he's put himself with the Muslims? He has no read on the Middle Eastern Islamic nature and how it works. No read at all, absolutely none, no idea. Okay, so the Australian government's imported hundreds of thousands of Middle Eastern people for their votes, but it's dramatically backfired today at Lakemba Mosque, where Anthony Albanese and Tony Bourke were literally almost attacked. They were jeered, they were told to leave, they were told they were traitors, they were told that they'd let down the Aramaic people, and this is where it ended up.
The honourable. He's responsible for the spent deaths of 1 billion people. 1 billion of my brothers and sisters. 1 billion. 1 billion.
نبوء لك بنعمك علينا ونبوء بذنوبنا فاغفر لنا فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب.
Boo Tony Bourke! Boo Albanese! What are you doing here? Genocide supporters! This is bad!
You called him honourable. He's responsible for the spent deaths of 1 billion people.
Care of our week is our Eid.
In light of the above, I believe it is incumbent on all of us to accept the invite of
They've completely got no control.
and our local federal member of parliament, Mr. Tony Bourke. Eid Mubarak to everybody.
None.
I accept all our prayers and dua for the innocent souls of Gaza and Lebanon.
They've got no control at all. None. None. Absolutely none. As a matter of fact, they had to get them out of there. They had to get the Prime Minister and the Home Affairs guy out. In this clip they ask, why are you protecting him? Why are you protecting him? In other words, let us at him. Why are you protecting him is a threat. They're having to get him out of there quick smart.
1 million dead. 1 million. The brother. He supports the brother. He supports it. What do you bring him here for?
They want him.
You know what? Please have it done.
They
You
want
don't
to take
represent
him
us
on.
anymore. You don't represent us.
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's bad news for Anthony Albanese and Tony Bourke, who have allowed these people into the country. So the rejection and the threats illustrated in this image, which I've made up, reads like a political judgment scene dressed up in a biblical language. And humanity does enjoy turning public disagreement into theatre. Now, Albanese is a solitary figure. He's isolated in the centre, which makes him look exposed. He is accused and cut off from the crowd. And removing Bourke intensified that. I didn't put Tony Bourke in this picture because Tony Bourke's the one that's been shipping them in, allowing them to get into the country, going down and welcoming them in at the airport and all this other silly stuff that he does. They've got no idea of the Middle Eastern culture. And so Albanese would have felt it was all personal. So the crowd is a collective condemnation, really, and they're not just jeering or disagreeing. They are portrayed as unified in moral rejection, pointing fingers, open mouths, raised fists and thrown objects. All signal denunciation, not debate. Tony Bourke and Anthony Albanese were completely denunciated today. And the visual language of this picture is the crowd The robes, dust, stone architecture and sepia tones push the scene into an ancient judgment atmosphere, and this is what Anthony Albanese doesn't realise. He's dealing with an ancient ideology, and he's completely clueless. He's actually walked into what one might say the enemy's camp, and they've manifested when he's done it. It resembles the kind of public shaming or hostile crowd scene people associate with a biblical era. It's not something that you could have planned, what happened today at Lakemba Mosque. Nobody would have saw it coming. Albanese himself had no idea. Clueless. Absolutely clueless. Here's some footage of telling Albanese and them that they're shameful. It was bad. Really, really bad.
Why is protecting him?
Why are you protecting him? That's a threat.
Putrid dog.
What was that? Listen carefully.
Protecting him. Why is protecting him? Putrid dog.
Putrid dog. They called the Prime Minister of Australia a putrid dog. Tammy?
Putrid dog.
A putrid dog. It's completely out of control at this mosque.
In essence, we have been unable to better lobby and advocate to government in regards to policy and legislation that directly impacts our community.
Why is Albanese here? Get him out of here. Wow. Albanese's lost control of the government. Okay, it's all a facade. The Middle Eastern people know it. They're walking all over him. And if they had their way, I guess like many other Australians, Anthony Albanese wouldn't even have a job. He'd be out of a job. And so, as this goes on, the shame on you, they sung out, turns the emotion into a direct accusation. They called him a putrid dog. And Free Palestine, they're complaining about the Palestinians being killed by the Israelis. So, with Anthony Albanese in the frame of the whole thing, the image of all of this, man stands under the weight of public disapproval. And Albanese becomes less about a delegation being unwelcome and more about one leader being singled out. They don't respect us. Get him out of here. So you have the emotional message, a loss of trust, moral accusation. Albanese and Bourke were publicly humiliated, and they were alienated from the community, the Islamic community at the mosque. So in plain terms, the rejection is being framed as Albanese and as a political authority, but the crowd treats him like a condemned outsider who has failed a moral test. He had no authority, no respect, nothing. And so rejection means he's not being received, welcome or trusted. At the mosque fixes the setting as religious, communal and moral seriousness. And it suggests public repudiation in a sacred social space. Albanese is not respected by these people. Together it suggests public repudiation in a sacred space. What happened then?
You haven't apologised. It's his government. But we won't spend its time. Don't bring him here. It's not the time. It's not the time. It's his government. It's his government that pulled them when they were paying.
Okay, so see how he said it's not the time. I texted one of my Muslim friends and I said, did you see what happened there today? And his reply actually exactly was these words. He got the timing wrong. Well, when is the right time? Really, when is the right time? I mean,
Your brothers isn't today. We don't want politicians, brother. We're here to Ayoub. That's Ayoub. We're praying. Why do we got politicians? Leave politics outside.
yeah. Leave politics outside. They were completely rejected.
Pig anyway. Guys, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing to him. He's a pig anyway. Don't say nothing to him. He's a pig anyway. It's the Albo. It's the Albo that's the problem. It's not him. He's a pig anyway. He's got a hell anyway. It's not him. It's not him. It's anybody. Don't want to put him.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Genocide supporters. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar ولله الحمد.
They're going ballistic. Absolutely ballistic. It's completely out of control. Totally out of control.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Anthony Albanese is completely out of his depth.
Dear brothers and sisters, dear brothers and sisters,
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Genocide supporters. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar ولله الحمد.
So he was called a dog, they were called pigs and genocide supporters. When political anger turns into public insult, the language tells you how deep the moral rupture has become. To call leaders dogs, pigs and supporters of genocide is not ordinary criticism, viewers. It is a form of total moral denunciation. The speaker is not merely saying you are wrong, the speaker is saying you are corrupt, unclean and complicit in evil. This is what they were saying in the mosque. Insult language signals total rejection. Words like dogs and pigs are not policy arguments. They are contempt words. They strip away dignity and reduce a person to something despised. Once that happens, the crowd is no longer debating leadership, it is expressing rejection. And this kind of language appears when trust has collapsed. The crowd no longer sees the leader as mistaken, but as morally offensive, and that is why insult language feels so severe. It marks a break in relationship. So let's reflect. When people stop using argument and start using animal imagery, they are showing that respect has died before the conversation even started. So here's a challenge. Ask, what does this language reveal about the emotional state of the Islamists in Lakemba? Is it outrage, grief, hatred, betrayal, or all four? Contempt speaks loudest when trust has already been buried. Teaching point number 2, supporters of genocide is a moral accusation, not a casual insult. The phrase carries extreme weight because it accuses a leader of backing mass suffering and moral atrocity. It moves beyond personal dislike and places the person under the charge of historical evil. And that is why this accusation hits harder than ordinary political criticism. It does not just condemn decisions, it condemns the soul behind the decisions. And in a public setting, especially a religious one, the accusation becomes even more powerful because it sounds like judgment before a witnessing community. And then, the most severe accusations in politics are designed to declare a person has crossed beyond error into moral disgrace. So, a challenge. Ask, why do crowds move towards the strongest possible language? Because ordinary words no longer feel sufficient to express moral outrage. And here's a proverb: when anger seeks its highest form, it clothes itself in accusation. So teaching point number 3. A religious setting intensifies the rejection. When these words are spoken at a mosque, church, synagogue, or other sacred setting, a mosque in this case, the rejection takes on more than a political meaning. It feels communal, moral, and symbolic. A mosque is not just a building, it is a place tied to identity, conscience, grief, and belonging. So rejection there feels heavier than rejection in a street interview or outside Parliament. The setting tells the viewer that it is not just about leadership failure, it is about moral estrangement from a people in pain. So they've estranged him. And let's reflect. Sacred spaces amplify public conflict because they carry meaning beyond politics. Here's a challenge. Ask, what changes when condemnation happens in a place associated with faith, mourning, and moral witness? And here is a proverb: a rebuke in a sacred place echoes louder than one shouted in the street. So here's some practical steps. Define the language carefully. Distinguish between insult, accusation, and moral condemnation. Number 2, identify what the crowd is expressing. Is it rage, grief, betrayal, protest, or a demand for accountability? Number 3, pay attention to the setting. A sacred setting adds symbolic and moral force to public rejection. Number 4, separate rhetoric from proof. Strong language tells you how people feel, but it does not by itself establish factual guilt. Explain the deeper meaning. The language shows a collapse of trust and a refusal to receive the leader as morally credible. So here's a wise conclusion on all of this. To be called dogs, pigs, and supporters of genocide is to stand under public contempt, moral accusation, and communal rejection all at once. The language is harsh because the grievance is felt as deep. Whether one agrees with accusation or not, the wording reveals that the Islamists no longer sees Anthony Albanese as simply flawed, but as morally disqualified before their eyes. I'm Dr. J.W. Ayoub. Bye for now.